ॐ योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकृतोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. Friends, we are in the second chapter now, and it is always useful to recapitulate what we have heard up till now, then only we get connected. So we start from this point that we are seeking fullness, perfection, purnata in our life. And for that is my talking, for that is your listening. Now there, we have heard that thousands of years researches were made in our country, and Patanjali Muni has presented most of them in a textbook form. And that is why we are drawn to this Patanjali Yoga Sutras. There was a question the other day about Satta. These are Buddhistic texts, there is nothing to do with this. Anyway. Now, Patanjali has presented in a peculiar way, or a way of his own, which is common amongst Indian rishis also. First, he has presented the ideal. Well, there are several ways of our attempt at getting our Purnatva, several ways. And Swami Vivekananda says he has generalized them into 4. We can very well remember what Swamiji has said. It is coming in this second chapter. Each soul is potentially divine. Each soul means we. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy. By one or more or all of these and be free. This is the whole of religion, Swamiji says. What we understand as religion, doctrines and dogmas and books and rituals and temples and forms are but secondary details. Out of this method of attempting perfection through psychic control is what Patanjali has taken up. And so he first of all tells us the ideal, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means the method is by not allowing any wave to rise in our mind. So that is the highest goal. And then he has described the penetrative meditation on the way. And the meditation or concentration rather, those who are able to do, those who are able to concentrate their mind, to what extent? Patanjali says, if you directly try for chitta vritti nirodha, you will be led astray. That also he has stated. So let you first develop the power of concentration, concentrate on gross objects, then that will reveal to you the subtler elements constituting that gross object. Then concentrate on the subtle things. That will lead you to perceive the instrument of perception. You will be able to perceive your own mind, buddhi and indriya with which you are perceiving things. That deep the concentration will go. Then still continue. Then penetratively you will be able to concentrate on your own self your own I feeling, I consciousness, then that will release the purity of the mind and so much knowledge, inner knowledge, which is filled with truth, he says, Ritambara Tatra Prajna. And then, through that, if you try for what he calls, all this is he calls as Samprajnata Samadhi. And through that, if you try for Asamprajnata, that means when you have developed your concentration to the fullest degree, then you try that no wave should rise in my mind. So concentration is the powerful tool in his hands. He is not saying the culmination of concentration will be Asamprajnata, no. Concentration has given you the power. And then you can check your vrittis, any wave coming in the mind you can check. And that is the goal, he says. Now, what about us? We are unable to concentrate. For us now, in a practical way, Patanjali has taken up the second chapter. He says if you develop three, that is the presentation, ideal, concentration leading to power and knowledge, and then again attempting the ideal, one method. Then if you don't have the capacity to concentrate, then tapa swadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani kriya yoga. So he says if you do something, kriya yoga means doing something to get at the goal of yoga, and all this doing is almost all mental or psychological. Though tapa includes, we read from the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Shloka 14, 15, 16, how we can do bodily tapa, how we can do vachik tapa, how we can do manasik tapa. A question arose about vachik tapa. I replied yesterday's things on my chat here. Today you can see that. But the question was, how can we speak the truth side by side without producing any excitation, and it should be dear to the person and it should be beneficial to him or us? To that my reply is the method. What is the method? When something comes in your mind, you want to speak out, please don't speak out. Hold that in the mind. Examine in all these four criteria, and you will usually find one of them wanting. Now, exercise your discretion. What words you should use so that all these four things come. What could be your facial or other expressions, gestures, which will convey this loving attitude. So, when you formulate in your own mind, then speak out. Now, if you go on attempting this for a few days, you will find that it has become your nature and you are able to reply properly. So, that is the answer to that question. So, tapasya we have seen, swadhyaya we have seen, consists of the study of scriptures and of mentally, finally, repeating some holy text or a mantra. And then, Ishvara Pranidhan. In the first chapter, Ishvara Pranidhan was given as an alternative method for the full Samadhi. And there the Pranidhan meaning was, we found, profound meditation. Now, if you are unable to concentrate, then second chapter has come. So that meaning is not possible here. So the Pranidhan has another meaning, dedication of the fruits of work to Ishvara. There also we questioned Patanjali that if Ishvara is a Purusha Vishesha, how can we dedicate our fruits to him? But there, the mixture comes. Ishvara concept we have our own. And in our concept, or in the purest concept of Ishvara, Ishvara is Nirgun Sagun. Ishvara is the creator, preserver and destroyer of this world. Ishvara is the samashti of all our minds taken together. Ishvara makes us do things. So, to such an Ishvara, we can definitely dedicate the fruits of our work. And this is the best purification in our life, dedication of the fruits of work to God, whom we take as the real doer. So, if we practice this, Patanjali is telling down, what it will do, he says, second sutra, Samadhi Bhavanartha Klesha Tanu Karanarthasya. Bhavana. Bhavana means feeling. Here it means tendency of the mind towards. Samadhi. Samadhi in Patanjali is concentration. So because we are not able to concentrate, we are doing Tapaswadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. This will give the tendency of the mind to concentrate. It will bring the mind to such a position that we are able to concentrate. That is the main purpose of this Kriya Yoga. And then Klesha Tanu Karanarthasya. This Klesh word had occurred in the first chapter also, and there we had seen the meanings. We shall again see the meaning. But Klesha means problems of life. Problems common to humanity are called Klesha. And this Klesha, Tanu Karanarthasya. Tanu means reducing the thickness. Tanu means making them thin or subtle or making them lose their power. So, the kleshas have taken a hold upon us. We shall presently see the kleshas. Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha and Abhinivesh are the kleshas. We shall try to explain them. But then these are the problems of humanity. And they are very powerful in our life today. And that is why we are not able to concentrate the mind. Or as somebody had said, the faculty of attention is going away. To get it back, to get our concentration back, we have to, when we use this Kriya Yoga, Tapaswadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan, that will on one side give us the capacity to concentrate, on the other side, it will make the kleshas powerless. Now, in the third sutra, he defines the klesha which I read just now. In some text, there is one word more, please. I read Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesha, Klesha. But in some text, the reading is Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesha, Pancha, Klesha. So, there is no difference in the meaning. It has been counted and said 5 are the kleshas. Now, what is avidya? Avidya is our wrong knowledge about everything in this world, including ourselves. What we take ourselves in our knowledge, wrong knowledge, that we are individualized form of consciousness which has become a subject. We are finding ourselves in this world of objects, which you call Prakriti. Now, this is wrong knowledge. Actually, we have become identified with this Prakriti, Patanjali shows us, and this is wrong knowledge. We, what we are, We are pure consciousness. Though Patanjali thinks we are individualized consciousness, yet we are pure consciousness. And we have nothing to do with this Prakriti. Patanjali takes Prakriti to be separately real, while the Vedanta takes Prakriti to be only Ishvara's Maya, appearance, it is unreal. But even what Patanjali takes, we are totally separate from Prakriti. We have no connection with Prakriti. If we can find this, then it will be right knowledge. And that is the aim what we are attempting. So, avidya means wrong knowledge. He will explain every word of this. Patanjali himself will explain in his own way. But when the words come, we have to understand them. Asmita is the first product of this wrong knowledge, and the first product is I consciousness. I am an individual. I am my individuality. I am my personality. I don't want to lose it. Everything starts depending upon this I consciousness. Without our analyzing what it is, because of the wrong knowledge, we are not aware that we are pure consciousness. There is no I in this pure consciousness. I comes from identifying ourselves with body, mind, and all the limiting adjuncts. That is Asmita. Asmita means out of wrong knowledge, we are identifying ourselves with our instrumentality. When we are conducting some experiments in the physics or chemistry laboratory, we are using certain instruments, but we do not become identified with them. In our life, we are using a house to live in. We are not the house, but sometimes we become identified. If we are driving a motor car is the instrument which we are using for driving, but in our mind we become the motor car. So this is called Asmita, identification with our instrumentality. That is the first product, I consciousness, of our wrong knowledge. Then that gives rise to likes and dislikes. Two friends, even two twin brothers or sisters, have different likings. So this I consciousness, due to identification with this particular psychosomatic unit, physical, psychological unit, has different likings. As our outside appearance differs, there are certain common things. We are human beings. But then some are men, some are women, and everybody has his own liking. That is the result of our wrong identification. And then simultaneously with that, you may think we are disliking also. We are disliking, it may go to the extent of our hating. So rag and dvesh, these are the outcome of our avidya, of our particularized asmita. We have likes and dislikes, and they are the problems of our human life. If we had no specific likes or dislikes, we would have quickly realized we are consciousness pure. We will be able to concentrate. Our concentration lapses because of our likes and dislikes. And then the last one is called Abhinivesh. You can see, later on Patanjali will tell us that even the most learned people, they don't want to die. They want to cling to this very body, to this very particular life. Though, as the sages would tell us, if Atman has nothing to do with the body, whether it has taken up one body or the other body, given up one other, Gita, the Bhagavad Gita will tell us, it is like changing our clothes. When clothes become worn out, we use other clothes. So that is the appearance of death. But something has got hold of us. All due to this wrong knowledge, all due to this asmita, we do not want to give up this body. And so, we don't want to die. That is where is death? It is only change of clothing. But we are unable to think of that. These 5 problems are called problems of humanity, problems of the entire world, and they are termed as klesha. Klesha means troublesome problems. Now, in the 4th sutra, avidya kshetram uttaresham prasupta tanu vichinna udarana. Avidya is the field in which the other kleshas grow. Avidya is the origin which gives rise to the other kleshas. Avidya itself is a klesha. But it is kshetram. Kshetram means field, farmland. Uttaresham means the later ones. Uttaresham means the later ones. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, avinivesh. So asmita, raga, dvesha and avinivesh, the cause or the root of all this is our wrong knowledge. Now, in what form we face them, the other ones? We face them in different forms. Prasupta. Prasupta means sleeping, literally. Here it means dormant. We may not see that we are avidya. We may not see we are likes and dislikes. We may not see our avinivesh, but they are lying dormant. Any moment they can jump upon us. So, dormant means the capacity to jump upon us later on, though not immediately. So, we have to be aware. Patanjali is making us aware of the different forms in which these kleshas or troubles we are facing. They may not appear before us. That is called prasupta. They may appear as if we have conquered them, but they are lying dormant. Unless we remove this avidya, they are not going to go. Avidya is the cause of all this. So only when we get vidya, in Patanjali's opinion, the vidya is that we are separate from Prakriti. We have nothing to do with Prakriti, though we may be separate from each other. This vidya only has the capacity to remove all the problems of life. So, prasupta means dormant. Tanu. Tanu, word we have met several times. Tanu means powerless or less power. Powerless will sometimes mean no power, but here we use it to say less power. There again the same thing. Today you may see their power is less, but it will grow. They will jump upon us again. So if you see them powerless, don't feel safe. Unless you get knowledge by which you become totally separate from Prakriti, they will exist. That is what Patanjali is warning us. Vichinna. We don't take these words to mean their literal meaning. Vichinna, original meaning will be divided or scattered. Here the meaning is, if we are liking somebody or something too much, the other kleshas may not attack us. Some people are so much egoistic and they don't see their likes and dislikes. So one of the kleshas may overpower the others. This is called vichinna. Vichinna is overpowered by other kleshas. They are not gone. Many people feel, I have no jealousy. But my Guru told me, if you have kama or krodha, no, take it for certain that you have jealousy. If we have jealousy, take it for certain you have kama and krodha. So, they may appear overpowered due to the other kleshas, but yet they can spring upon us. So that is called vichinna. And udaranam, udaranam is the normal state, fully expanded. Udaranam means fully expanded. That means fully active. So these pancha kleshas, or the four out of them, are in our life dormant, less power, overpowered by others, and fully expanded. Then, how to deal with them? He has already told, Klesha Tanu Karanarthasya Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranitat. Now, he describes one of them, the original one, avidya, in his own way. Anitya, ashuchi, dukkha, anatmasu, nitya, shuchi, sukha, atmakhatir, avidya. Central word is khyati. Khyati means knowledge. Here it means taking one thing for the other. Khyati means taking here one thing to be like other. Now what are the things? Anitya. You have to pair up these words. Anitya, temporary. Kshanabhangur, momentary, changing every moment. We take it as nitya. We take it as permanent. What is anitya? Everything in Prakriti is anitya. Everything in Prakriti is changing every moment. In our body, every moment. In our mind, every moment. In our indriyas, every moment. Even in this eye consciousness, a small child's eye consciousness changes every day until he becomes an old man. And if he dies and takes another body, the eye consciousness is totally changed. But we never feel that change. And we feel this Prakriti is permanent. This eye consciousness remains constant. This is what is avidya. One question was asked to Yudhishthir Samrat. I'll tell you a story, anecdote from Mahabharata. When they were in the forest, one day they were feeling thirsty, all of them. So Yudhishthir sent Bhima to search for water somewhere. You can drink and bring for all of us. Near about, Bhima found a lake. But when he went to drink, there was a voice telling, "Don't drink, my child. First answer my questions." He was out of thirst. He could not obey. And he drank. And he fell down dead. When he did not return, Yudhishthir sent Arjun. Same thing happened to him. "Don't drink, my child." But he drank and fell down dead. Nakul, Sahadev, both of them did the same thing. Then, when nobody returned, Yudhishthir himself went. And then the voice asked him, "Reply to my questions." Yudhishthir said, "All right. You ask, if I have capacity, I shall reply." And many questions were asked. Very important portion of Mahabharata called Yaksha Prashna. Yaksha means the unknown quantity. So one of the questions asked was, what is the most wonderful thing? And to which Yudhishthir says, every day we see people dying around us. Every day we see people dying around us. Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti yama mandiram. Shesha sthiratvam icchanti himascharyamatah param. And those who do not die, they take themselves to be permanent. Every action of them, theirs, reveals their feeling that they are going to live eternally. Yudhishthira says, can there be anything more wonderful than this? Every day we see people are dying and we feel we shall not die. So, Anitya is taken as Nitya. I wish to add something more here from the Vedantic point of view. We will put a little Buddhistic thought. The thought was propagated by Buddhistic philosophers. The talk is eternal. And that is, if something is anitya, how can it be real? If a thing is, please bear with me, patiently, calmly think. If this body is changing, if I am changing, if this table is changing, if Prakriti is changing, how do we call it real? Which we call, sometimes we say, the house has been constructed such nicely that for 200 years nothing will happen to it. Is this right? If nothing happens to the house for 200 years, eternally nothing will happen. Because nothing will happen means it will be the same as it is today. But when one pillar is concretized and we start concretizing the other pillar, this pillar starts decaying immediately. So, which we call this table? That which was yesterday or that which is today? Which we call our body? That which we call yesterday or which is today? So, anything which is temporary cannot be real. It appears to be real. This is the Vedantic definition of avidya. Anitya we take as nitya, means asatya we take as satya. The unreal is taken up as real. But Patanjali does not talk about it because in his darshan, in his philosophy, Prakriti is real. We challenge Prakriti. Now, the self of man is pure consciousness. It never changes. And so that is Nitya, so that is Satya. Prakriti is ever changing. Our body, Indriyas, mind, eye consciousness is ever changing. So, they cannot be real. Anyway, I have added this. From Vedantic point of view, if Anitya is taken as Nitya, we should understand Asatya is being taken as Satya. Sri Ramakrishna has explained this most beautifully. He says, Ishwar is Satya, in Bengali it says Kina Nitya. And whatever is different from Ishwar is Asatya, Kina Anitya. That means Nitya or Anitya should become the step to understand Satya or Asatya. So, this is one point of avidya. Avidya still is explained dukkha anatma su, that means in plural. Ashuchi. Ashuchi means unholy, impure, dirty, and we take it as shuchi. We take it as the most covetable object. Here Patanjali is tearing our mind and explaining. What is talking about? The body. He may include Indriyas and mind also. Body, what is body? What is body made of? Flesh and bones and blood. And the dirty excreta which we throw out every day. This is what body is made of. And we glorify the body. We think body is so beautiful. The body is so pure. So this is avidya. Wrong knowledge about everything we said. So body again, which is a part of Prakriti, in itself, it is the dirtiest thing in life. If you could have penetratedly seen inside, we should have seen Vastu Vichar. That is what in the Gospel we find, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Vastu Vichar. For a man, his own body and the woman's body. For a woman, her own body and the man's body. Mind you, Patanjali is penetratively analyzing and presenting before us. They are the dirtiest objects. And we take them to be beautiful, holy, lovable. This is avidya, wrong knowledge. Then, dukkha. Dukkha will explain in another sutra. This world is dukkha. Actually, this division of the enjoyer and enjoyed itself is the cause of misery. Everything in this life is filled with misery. Mind you, this is not pessimism. This is not pessimism. This is fact of life. We hope to get some pleasure. What is pleasure? Patanjali explained nicely, but a camel. Now, incidentally, I am telling, I am in Khetri, Rajasthan. So plenty of camels. And what they do? They chew the thorns of the thorny bubble tree. And blood oozes from their tongue. And they taste that blood and feel happy. This is the result of, or the nature of, all our so-called pleasures. My Guruji's term for all our pleasures was titillation of nerves. Whether Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, whether right up to the sexual enjoyment, it is nothing but titillation of nerves and dukkha karak. Patanjali will analyze and tell us, but we take it as sukha. That is the only sukha available to us. So wrong knowledge about everything includes dukkha to be taken as sukha. Now, apply Vedanta on this. This worldly life, this subject-object life is dukkha. But Patanjali does not mention it. Our own real nature is sukha. Let me tell you here my own formula. In the world, some people say pleasure is there, some people say pain is there, some people say pleasure and pain is there. I would say the world does not consist of pleasure or pain, anything. The world is a shadow of our own real nature. Our own real nature is happiness, bliss, and the shadow is the world. And if we try to catch the shadow, what do we get? Hi, alas, gone. Can we catch the shadow? No. This is dukkha. The world itself does not consist either of pleasure or pain, but shadow of happiness. And we continuously try catching the shadow. And it slips out of our hand, we are unable to catch the shadow, and so it results into high. You see, I will use another word here. What you say in English, frustration. In many Indian languages, it is translated as apeksha bhanga. That is, breaking of the expectations. That is frustration. One of my teachers used to tell, why we meet with frustration, why our expectations do not materialize, because the expectations are wrong. We are expecting happiness from here, there, and when you do not get it, we feel frustrated. So, dukkha itself is being taken as sukha. Let me add, Sukha is within us and we should find that Sukha. Though Patanjali is not talking about it. One more point. Anatmaso Atmakhyati. That thing which is not ourself. Prakriti is not ourself. Prakriti is separate from us. Prakriti has nothing to do with us. We don't have to do anything with Prakriti. And yet we continuously identify with Prakriti, with our body, indriyas, mind and eye consciousness. Asmita, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinivesh. And this, why we take it like, we feel that is what I am. I am the body, I am the indriyas, I am the mind, I am this eye consciousness. So taking the non-self as self, this is avidya according to Patanjali. Let us throw some Vedantic light on this. Not only it is not me, it is unreal. So in the terms of Nitya also I told this. So Vedanta says, unreal being taken as real. And what is real? My own real nature. And that we never feel. We make that as unreal. We are taking real as to be unreal. Most of the people say, where is God? Where is self? Where is Atman? As if it does not exist. And unreal we are taking as real. So that is the wrong knowledge according to Vedanta. We are not individuals at all. We are one with Brahman. We are one with the universal reality. But we take ourselves to be individuals. So this is avidya. Then, so I explained fifth sutra, anitya, ashuchi, temporary, unholy, sorrowful, not self, is taken as permanent, holy, pleasure, and myself. That is avidya. Now the next one, asmita. Asmita means, as I told you, I, my individuality, my personality. I don't want to give up my personality. I don't want to change my ideas. I don't want to change myself as if myself is something fixed. Swami Vivekananda has shown, a thief will say, I will not give up stealing because my individuality will go. So, now Patanjali has philosophically, analytically explained what is asmita. Drig, sixth sutra, Drig darshana shaktyoho ekatmata eva asmita. Drig means the seer. The seer. What is the seer? Which is the seer? The pure consciousness which we are. Darshana Shakti. Here Shakti means power, literally the power of seeing, the power of experiencing. What is meaning is the instruments of experiencing. Buddhi, mind, indriyas, through them we see the world. So these are the instruments of our perception. I am separate, but ekatmata eva, the unity, making them one, this is I consciousness. I consciousness, this particular I, appears due to wrong knowledge only when I identify myself with this body or indriyas or mind. If I could identify myself with pure consciousness, which has nothing to do with all this, then asmita would not be there. The Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramakrishna had such extreme, acute feelings about this, he could not call his body or what we call himself as I. You see, I is taken by the men of knowledge in two ways. Either say there is no I, or I am the whole world. If this body is mine, that body also is mine. So how can I call this particular body as I? That was the constant state of Sri Ramakrishna. So, individuality or asmita eva means only. Asmita is Drik means seer, Darshana Shakti means instrumentality of perception, Ekatmata, identity or unity of these two is the Asmita. Nicely defined by Patanjali. What is I consciousness? My identification with my body, mind, indriyas, etc., which is not real. Avidya is the source of this. Then, Sukhanushayi Ragaha. That means, he has told Raga is the attachment. Now, somewhere we felt some pleasure. We become attached to that. Again and again we want the same thing. This is attachment. Attachment means expectation or tendency to repeat that through which we have got some pleasure. If we are liked, say Rasgulla, we always want Rasgulla. If a man finds some pleasure in a woman's body, he always wants it. If a man finds pleasure in his own body, he always wants it. So, what is likes and dislikes? What is the likes? It depends upon Sukha Anushayi. Anushayi means which follows, which is dependent upon is Anushayi. Dependent upon that which has given him pleasure is this attachment or attraction or the tendency to repeat. So, depending upon that which has given him some pleasure, we again want that again and again. This is the asakti or attachment or liking of our mind. What is dvesha? In the eighth, dukkha anushayi dvesha. If something has given us pain, then this hatred, repulsion comes. So dependent upon the feeling of pain, dukkha anushayi, is this feeling of dvesha, dislike, hatred, anger, all these are included in dvesha. It is about that point, those objects, those persons, those tendencies of the mind which have given us pain. Now, Abhinivesha. Here Patanjali has gone very, very deep and is presenting the facts of life. Swarasavahi vidushopi tatharudo abhinivesha. Abhinivesha, we told, is clinging to this life, to this body. Swarasavahi, it flows through its own nature. Rasa is the juice. Swa means own. Vahi means flowing. Swarasa Vahi means flowing in his own flow. Flowing in its own flow. Vidusho api, even in the learned people, even in the so-called scholars. This flows in its own nature. Tatha rudo. Ruda means firm. Ruda means that which has become firm in our life. Tatha means in the same way. In what way? If it happens in an illiterate or person, if it happens in animals, we may be able to understand because of ignorance. But even in the learned man, it is same firmness has come about not giving up the life, and this tendency is flowing in its own way. There are a lot of explanations here, but I don't feel the need to undergo here. They will come on later. We shall understand that at that point. But here Patanjali is mentioning that we have no control over it. That is Swarasavai. It is going on, happening. And this is the last product of our wrong knowledge. If we knew we were pure consciousness, we would never have clung to this body. We do not find it in the Brahmajna Purushas. We do not find in the sages. I will tell you a funny story. One grammar teacher in a forest, he was teaching boys. And they saw from a distance some tiger is coming. So they shouted, "Sir, Vyagra, Vyagra," the name of tiger. Now, Vyagra in grammar, the etymological meaning is one who smells from a distance. Vyajigrati iti Vyagra. So the grammarian teacher, we are taking a story, it is real also. The grammarian teacher says, "Are, why are you thinking of Vyagra?" Vyagra means one who smells from a distance. Then the tiger came near. The boys ran away. The tiger caught hold of this grammar teacher. Even then he is calling them back, "Come back, come back." Dhatu nam bahu artatvat. At this root, Vyagra has another meaning also. He can chew. He can hold everything in his jaw and crush it. That is also a meaning. So, this is how the grammar teacher is lost in his grammar. But the Brahmajna is lost in his Brahmanhood. He never feels that he should stick to this body. Body is nothing for him. I will tell you the real example here. It goes in the name of Alexander. But Alexander never reached India, you know. Alexander's guru or teacher was Aristotle. And when Alexander set out to conquer the world, he said, "From India, what shall I bring?" The guru told him, "You bring two things from India. Bring the Bhagavad Gita and bring a wise man. India has them." Now, he gave this order to his lieutenant, Megasthenes. And Megasthenes, in his turn, told to his chief of the army, Seleucus. So the story is actually about Megasthenes or Seleucus. We do not know. But it goes as if Alexander. So he was searching for a wise man. People told him, "You will not find a wise man in this busy street. You go to some forest, you will find him there." So a sage was sitting below a tree. And he goes and puts some questions to him. He replies in a beautiful way. He is very much impressed and understands or thinks that, oh, he is a wise man. So he says, "Will you please come to my country?" He says, "Why? What shall I get there?" He says, "I will give you nice food." He said, "These fruits and roots are very nice. I shall give you several drinks. This water of the stream is very nice to drink. I shall give you a proper house to live. This below the tree is a very nice place for me." So like that, whatever he offered, he rejected. Then he said, he became angry and said, "If you do not come with me, I shall kill you." And he raised his sword. Then the sage says, he laughs and says, "Emperor, or that captain, whoever he is, this is the most foolish things you have uttered. You can never kill me. My real nature cannot be killed, cannot be burned, cannot be dried, cannot be wetted. So this is the most foolish thing ever." Now this is what the sages experience. While we go on sticking to the body, even though learned we may be. So we have come up to shloka, mantra, sutra 9 today. And okay, now slightly Patanjali will change his mood in the 10th. Well, that will be on the topic. I will take it up on Wednesday. Here, when the questions were asked to me on chat after Friday's class, they were forwarded to me in the night. And I have written my replies, and you will find it on the chat today. So, I thank Sarva Priyanandaji. Yesterday I was struggling for a name. 24th after Bhagavan Buddha I said. And I wrongly said Bodhisattva. He has corrected, telling me it was Bodhidharma. I thank him for it. And other questions I have tried to reply there. There was a question from Bhavani Mukherjee, and I have given a short reply to that question on the chat. If she is really interested in getting full answer from me, she should reveal her identity, phone number, email ID or postal ID. I can give much more detailed reply to her. So, these are the points. Any questions, please, today?
Pranam Swamiji.
Kamal, yes.
Pranam Swamiji, I would be so happy to. I am Bhavani Mukherjee speaking, to whom you address. I would be so very delighted to hear a little more from you, but Maharajji, I do not have the details you were. Where should I give these details? Email address and other things.
Okay. So, where are the organizers? So I will try the. What was the question? Just now asked.
Maharajji, I was just asking you if I could have the details on where I will be able to send all my personal details like email address and my phone number and anything else. For
on the chat, if you write, I will get them.
Okay, I'll do that, Maharajji. Thank you so much. And
on the chat, I will come back to you.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Pranams, Maharaj.
So we close now. Om yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopa karottam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.